Sippers, welcome to this episode of the Tea With Me podcast with me, Shane Todd. Before we get wired into this episode, let me plug our Patreon. Now you're going, what is Patreon? Is it a drink? Is it a province in Francais? It's not. It's a website. It's https www.patreon.com. It is an amazing website where if you like the podcast, if you like the cut of my jib, you go over there. From as little as £3 a month, you could sponsor a snow leopard. But what would be more fulfilling? Getting extra bonus content for this podcast. You know, if you sponsor a snow leopard, you don't actually get to like live stream it or anything like that. Really, you just assume that it's out in the wild doing well, but it could not be. You get with this a bonus episode on a Monday called The Special Brew, which is just me talking about the gigs I've been doing, what I've been up to. It's a solo thing. On Friday, you get a live stream episode where I get one or two of the best comedians, and not just comedians, but all types of people around. And we come on, we do a live stream. You can ask questions during it, and all that gets put on www.patreon.com/teawithmepodcast, and you can go back because we have a vault. You can go back, you can pole vault through 2 years worth of footage. You can go right back and watch live streams until you're satisfied. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. We also this month are putting up the live episode of Stephen Nolan for you, or Stephen Watson. It'd be such a bad Nolan. Stephen Nolan here, the biggest show in the country. It doesn't make any sense. But what does make sense is the live podcast we did from the Waterfront Hall. 2,000 people laughing, crying, drinking tea. It was a wild time. I've seen some of the footage and it's exemplary. To the point where I said to Michael, who shot this? Because something wasn't stacking up. I don't know what he's done, what magic he's done to it, but he's done something because it looks amazing. And if you couldn't make it on the night, this is the next best thing. We are also probably soon going to announce some sort of other new live podcast in front of a studio audience. Anyway, let me plug our sponsors. We are sponsored by Thompson's Tea, Punjana. Now I say Punjana, Dan, where would you think that was from? Punjana. If I said this tea comes all the way from Punjana, where would you think?
India.
Mike, you any? You don't even turn your mic up for it. Where? Africa. Okay, good guess. Tony? Botswana in Africa, so he kind of covered it with that. So do you want to say another place? No. Do you want to say another place that isn't that? No, because I know you're tired because we went to England yesterday to pick up a car. And then I found out after you can send someone there for £200, and even our flights alone were more than that. So hard mug. But Tony, can you name somewhere that isn't Africa? Tony, relax, clear your throat.
Where did you say?
India, Africa, South America. No, made right here in Belfast. Punjana is made by the Thompson's Tea family. They've been making tea since the late. It is. They're not called the Thompson Tea. Double barrel. It may as well be. These guys fucking love it. These guys absolutely love it. They've been making tea in Belfast since the late 1800s. It's coming out of their ears, their noses, their bottoms. Dan, cut that in. Anyway, they love it. We love it. Northern Ireland's #1 selling tea. Our guest might be here. Tony, you go down and let him in. But Tony, ask does he want a tea or coffee? Because I need to do the Manscaped raid. So take your time with it. I don't want this awkward. Anyway, keep drinking. It's Northern Ireland's #1 selling tea. We are also sponsored by Manscaped. You got to take care of what's going on down there. Manscaped is the #1 in men's below the belt grooming. Ball cleanser, ball deodorant, ball wipes. They've got the Lawnmower 4.0 for your pubic region. Odd time for our guest today to come in. We have the code Tea With Me for 20% off and free shipping. And it's the best way to get rid of things down there. You know, not these outdated methods. Getting them put out by paramilitary, anything like that. Come into the 21st century. Tea With Me for 20% off and free shipping. We're going to get stuck into this episode today. My guest, I'm not going to... See, normally here's what happens. Normally, I introduce the guest before they come in, but the guest is in the room, so I'm going to do the intro when we're actually on in front of him, which might even be more weird. Anyway, please enjoy this episode of the Tea With Me podcast with my guest, Colin Murphy. Has there been times throughout you doing stand-up where stand-up's been like cancelled? Not COVID, but world events or something's happened, or maybe especially something locally. Has there ever been a case where it's like, we're not doing stand-up today?
No.
You remember?
No,
like,
I don't remember any. I remember, like we did gigs the night of like big things, like back in the day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
but do you think that's more of an attitude of back then? It was like, we're getting on with it, whereas now,
do you know what was weird? If it was something big, the room was busier. The Empire was busier.
right?
They wanted to see what.
They wanted to hear the day's news.
Aye, they wanted to hear what Paddy was going to say about it.
Because I was like, so it was almost like Empire was like Twitter.
Yeah.
You just go down and hear the reaction. But so
did that
what,
really happen? No, go and check. Go down the Empire and check.
So what year did so the Empire? It's going up to 30 years of the Empire. Now I'm not good at. I tried to get my maths GCSE genuinely 3 times. So the Empire started.
Go on.
No, you'd be surprised.
You can do it.
In 19.
That's correct.
I'm struggling at this point. 1990. Three. 1992. 1992. Now, were you on the scene then, or did you come?
No. I don't think I was at the first night. I came not long after that, and entered the joke competition. I used to do this joke competition where, the opening line of a thing, what's the difference between two things that were one thing that was in the news and something completely stupid. And so I entered the joke competition and won the joke competition.
You didn't have to get it. You would just
write it in, and the MC then reads out.
Yeah.
And then the audience vote for by round of applause.
Yeah.
And or shouting, "That's fucking shit."
Yeah.
And then I won. So then about a couple of weeks later, I ended up doing gigs. So I started in February. So it opened in the October, November, and I started in February following year.
Do you start there?
Yeah. Well, no. First gig was 2 weeks before that in Queens.
Right.
And then there was a comedy night. Mate of mine was ends officer, and he organised a comedy night and asked me to come. Don't know why.
Had you had aspirations to get up and do stand up and perform before that?
Yeah, I'd actually thought of opening a place. I'd never done stand up before.
That's quite a jump.
It was. I'd never done stand up, never done an open spot, and I thought, I think I could do that. I could run a club.
Thinking about getting into stand up, I've opened a branch of the Comedy Store.
Yeah. Been in touch with them. It's all right.
I mean, also a good way to get stage time if it's your club.
Seriously,
you're going to be on.
I was, and I looked at upstairs bar in the old Lavery's.
Would you have been a student at this time?
No, I was. No, I was finished. No, I was.
Right.
When was that? 92? No, I was well finished. Yeah.
And your first gig was at Queens. You went to? Did you went to Queens?
Yep. I went to
Art College.
Yep.
Don't know how I know that.
And then the Empire opened, and it was mad. It was like bong packed.
Yeah.
It was amazing. Walking in the room, the hairs to the back of your neck went up. I swear to God.
And it was downstairs as well. So like, I'm sure the atmosphere was more contained.
Oh my God, it was brilliant. It was a total fire risk. There was no way that was legal.
And like you say,
people were standing right. It was like a music gig. It was like a punk gig. People were knees up against the stage, standing looking at you with a pint. It was proper.
The first time I did the Empire, speaking of like fire exits and people being crammed in, first time I did the Empire, I think it was maybe my 4th gig. I was maybe 18 or 19.
Jesus.
And and the lineup was you
remember
were
school. Speaking of which.
You were, but I looked 5 years younger than I was at that time. So,
you did.
And I remember being so unbelievably nervous and walking up a Tannic, and there was just a line of people. I thought, I wonder what maybe there's a problem with the trains or something like that. realizing they were coming to the show, and you were emceeing. Jason Byrne was headlining, and someone else well known was doing support, and I didn't realize nerves like that were possible. It was. I remember Jackie coming out at the start doing like safety announcement, a welcome thing.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying, "Look, I normally give like advice for if there's a fire." He's like, "We're not getting out here. Yeah. If there is a fire here, we're fucked. So just enjoy the night."
It could be your last.
Yeah. And you brought me on stage that night, and there's a rickety staircase, 3 or 4 steps going up at the Empire, for anyone who doesn't know. And I was so nervous, and so when you said my name, I was like, I need to get out there, that I tripped on the top. I kicked the top step on my way past, and I was either going to fall or I had to turn it into a run. And you won't remember this, but I remember you calling my name first time we'd met, and I remember your face as you looked at this kid just sprinting towards the microphone. I remember you being like, all right, okay. And I was like, I was like, should I explain to you on the way past? I was like, Colin, as people, the audience have stopped at this point. I'm like, I tripped there. I nearly tripped. And I just remember my mouth being unbelievably dry. First few times I did the Empire, and I didn't get that anywhere else. Yeah. And anytime I did the Empire, I would only get those nerves because it's where I went, as many people did, as a student, to watch stand-up. And you were always MCing. So I think only in the last couple of years I've got over, when I see you, associating you with the nerves I had.
You get a flashback, PTSD.
I met you in Decathlon one day, and I got caught in my hello, Colin. But they were, I mean, nights like that when everybody was packed in, and it's kind of like a bear pit in a good way. I can't imagine what that would have been like in the basement of the venue, amplified. It
used to be like a bear pit in a bad way.
Right.
Because it was notorious. It was like a whole reputation built up around it, and all the English acts were terrified of playing it. Right. And it was like, I swear to God, it was hilarious. And
what could they do? What was the worst thing they could do, and what was the best thing they could do to get the crowd?
Worst thing they could do was walk on and pretend that they weren't where they were.
Right.
That was the worst thing they could do, because then there weren't many gigs outside London, so we were bringing in a lot of gigs, a lot of comedians from London, and then some from up north, and a lot of American. And the London guys would go on and then start talking about the tube. Right. And they would genuinely talk about like delays on the tube. Right.
The Northern Line, it's a bloody nightmare.
Yeah. And then people are looking and going, you could just, there was this stony silence. Right. And people, one of the best heckles I ever was in the Empire. This American woman who lived in London, who was doing loads of stuff that works in London but was dying at ours. And every time she spoke, there was a guy just going, taxi. Taxi. Every time she spoke, and he timed it beautifully. Just before she'd do the punchline of a joke, he'd just go, taxi. And she went, Jesus Christ, just let me finish the joke. I want to finish the joke. Get off the stage. Can you fucking do that? Can you fucking do that? And he went, hey, love. And then he waited, and you knew it was coming. And then he waited until the last. And he went, taxi for the comedian. And the room went, yay. It was absolutely terrifying. Even for us, we'd go on, oh no, because you have to go on and pick it up then.
But if you hadn't done many gigs before that, what was your first time at the Empire like?
It's completely terrifying. Yeah.
And did you talk about things that were happening on the day, on the week, or you had a set?
See, I never did any of that stuff.
Right.
Because that's what Paddy did. Paddy did all that. Paddy did all the topical news stuff. He did all of that. Jake was around. He did loads of sex stuff and relationship stuff, and then so I had to do whatever was left over. Right. So mine was just bizarre stuff about dogs, and I don't know what the hell it was about, and being a culty, and 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 your dad. That's what I used to talk about.
And so, take me back to that Queen. So your first Queen's gig, how did that go?
I was all right.
What age were you when you started stand up?
25. So it's all right.
And what was there a scene here of stand up? Was it?
No. We were it.
Yeah.
There was only Paddy, and then he was the only person here, and then there was Owen O'Neill from here living in London.
Yeah.
And Kevin McAleer living in London, and that was it.
See, I don't think there was. I always think you're telling me that, and I'm like, oh, there was so many gigs when I started, but I actually don't even think there was then. But I think now, if you start, oh God, you're on a circuit.
Yeah.
It's like people coming up to you with cigars, being like, you're on a 27-day tour with your 5 minutes.
It's brilliant. Paid none,
yeah.
by the way.
But it's, I think when I started, it was a terrible time for stand-up for years. It was just, you would get the odd gig that would start in a pub, and they were going to run it monthly, and you'd do the first one, it was brilliant, and then you went back for the second one, it was just sad.
I know.
Because they pumped so much money into the first one, and go, well, this works now, and never, whereas now, the gigs that there are just...
Well, people are spoiled now.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
And people take stand-up for granted.
Right.
And they don't want to pay for anything.
Yeah.
And they want to, oh, you meant to pay to go in here?
Yeah.
And then at the same time, then it was killed by too many gigs and then too many people being on and charging money in to people who had never done stand-up before. So you pay, people are paying in to watch 10 open spots.
Right.
Try out new material.
Yeah.
And those people aren't coming back to comedy.
Yeah.
Those people that go out to see that gig are never going to comedy. I went to see live comedy, it was awful.
Yeah.
They're never going back.
To judge it on that.
Yeah.
What was the time where you were like, this is it's at its best? Since you've been doing stand up. Yeah. I mean as a scene, as for a punter, if you were going to go out and watch stand up, was it that time where it was downstairs in the Empire and it was...
That was the time I liked it best. But that's
Yeah.
the thing, everybody likes it when they started off.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, it was most rock and roll thing.
Yeah.
And it really was, like, even when you weren't on, you'd walk in, hairs in the back of your neck would go up, and it was just, and you'd stand, and it's the only time I've ever been in a room where I've watched comedy and thought, I want to be on. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. What are you doing drinking coffee, by the way?
It's Colin's tea. It is coffee.
That's from a coffee pornographer. That's
I've been exposed. Basically, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
You strike me as a guy. You've got it together. I don't know if you do, but you
Have I?
strike me as always your jackets suggest to me you're a man who's got it together.
I've got it. This is my favourite jacket. That's why I always wear it.
I love your
Got
jackets.
my shopping list in it, actually.
Now, I don't have it together. So the reason I'm drinking coffee is yesterday I wanted to get a car. My car's not big enough.
Oh, right.
Just had another kid. Need more.
Another
room.
one?
Yeah.
Jeez, you're pumping them
I only
up
have
now.
two. I don't know how many you think I have.
That's why you said another one. It's like, God, you got another one. Yeah.
As far as I know.
One of those.
So we need something a bit bigger.
Right.
So I saw something I liked, but it was in England.
Uh-huh.
And people were saying to me, oh, there's companies that deliver your car from England over here. But I like to have a wee look. My dad's a mechanic.
I know, yeah.
Always, make sure, cash on demand, he always said to me.
Yeah.
So go and look at it and make sure it's all good. So yesterday, me and Tony went to, I got up, he picked me up at, this is why I'm drinking coffee. You wish you hadn't asked. Got up at 2. He picked me up at
AM?
AM.
Okay.
He picked me up at 3
Yeah.
AM. And we went to the international airport, flew to Gatwick,
Uh-huh.
got the car dealer to pick us up from, he's offered, I didn't, so I made him.
How expensive is this car that you're buying? A car dealer's picking you up?
He came, got us, he picked us up. We sent a guy. The guy came, got us, took us to the dealership, did the deal, liked the car, had to drive it then from London to Cairnryan, with a couple of short stops. We just about made it. Got the ferry last night at 7:30. It was delayed. Then got the ferry back. This is only halfway finished. Got the ferry back from... The journey wasn't this long. Got the ferry back to Belfast in my car that I'd bought. I had to drive Tony back to the airport to get his car, and then I drove home from there, and that is why I'm drinking coffee this morning.
All right.
So that was only a few hours ago. Now, the reason I say you look like you strike me as someone who either would have just bought the car locally,
Yeah.
or would have used a firm who specialise in doing that. Now, in my head, I'm thinking you probably have to pay them, I don't know, a couple of grand to do that. On my way back on the ferry last night, someone said, I know a guy who does that for £200. Our flights were dearer than that.
What, a boy from here fly over?
Yeah.
And he'll go, I'll get your car.
It's not the one you ordered, but I'll get you.
Yeah. Which one do you want?
So that's, I'm not, because I am.
I'm a culture. I walk in and it's how much is that motor?
Now, here's the sign of whether, when it comes to cars and that kind of thing, whether you're a true culture. If you were ever paying cash for a car, would you or someone bought a car from you, right?
Yeah.
Would you ever give them the first note back?
No.
My dad does that. You ever seen this
No,
move?
I've never seen that.
It's supposed to be like does anyone know? It's like a good luck. It's like a good faith jet. So if someone were to give you £5,000 in £20 notes, you take the first one off top and go, take that back. Good move.
I sort of had a thing. I just bought a car 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And the boy I bought it off was up near, where was he? Ballymena direction.
Right.
They're always up there.
Yeah. That's true.
Aren't they?
That's true. They love it.
Catholics don't sell cars. Cars are only
They
for
buy them,
sale
but-
in Ballymena, Coleraine, Ballyclare. And yeah, that's where it was. Oh, no, it wasn't. It was Braid. Where's Braid?
That is
No, it wasn't
Ballymena.
Ballymoney. It was outside Ballymoney. It was Braid River,
Right.
Ballyclare, and then there's another place. Anyway, there. And he sort of did that. So and he knocked money off. So
Yeah.
the equivalent
Yep.
digitally,
Yep.
he
Now,
knocked off money.
now I don't know how much I'm not obviously going to ask you how much you pay for it, but next time you're buying a car, I can give you a quick tip. Now, all you'll need is a week away from the house.
Yeah.
You go over to England.
Yeah.
But you could save 50, 60 quid saved.
Safe. That's yours. That's safe.
That's in your pocket.
Yeah.
Now, yes, you've expenses of a full
Flights.
day with a friend as well.
Yeah.
Got
Food. Did you pay him anything?
He didn't put his hand in his pocket. Didn't put his hand in his pocket. Can I just say one thing we did? which I was like, this is how I know, like, we've been out of the house for too long and I'm a bit sleep deprived and
Yeah.
delirious. We got onto the Stena line. I've been on the Stena line years. I was like, the last thing I want to do is sleep. If I sleep, I'm going to be out of sorts. I'm just going to wait. So they have a spa on board.
I've seen that and I've thought, really? Who is the type of person who used that? Genuinely, I've wondered who is, and you are that person.
No, well, I'm the person who thinks it's a good idea. And I went up and I was like, oh, it's going to be like a Nordic spa. It'd be lovely. I went up and, you know, I'd committed to being in it, so I couldn't just walk in and go, oh no, and leave.
What do they have?
Kind of whatever you need.
No, is it like a jacuzzi or a
Oh no, it's like
sauna? It'd be weird to be in a jacuzzi, in water, on the water, just slopping around the place.
it's no, it's like you can get a neck massage, a back massage, that kind of. It's not like you wouldn't be walking about in a row. It's not like the Galgon.
Oh, right.
It's like
yeah,
a couple of plastic doors and you can go in.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
So I was like, here, we'll get driving all day. Get a neck and head massage. I was like, I'll get one. He won't. And it was just a good way to kill time. And then we like put our names down for it and then picked a time. And then we both fell asleep downstairs on the thing. And all I heard in my sort of half day's sleep was over at the tannoy.
No way.
Could Shane Todd come to the Nordic Spa? I was like, oh fuck. By law of averages, someone here might know who like this prick getting on the Stena line, booking himself in, and I just didn't go up.
I always find the Stena, right? Stena line is like a circus. You know when you go to the circus, you go to the circus when you're a kid, and the person that takes the tickets.
Yeah.
The next thing you're watching the circus, the next thing she's riding around the back of a horse in her bra, and then a couple of minutes later she's like dressed up, she's getting swords put through her, and a couple of minutes later she's eating fat. You know, and then on the way out she's selling, you know, swizzy light up things. And the Stena line's like that.
Yeah.
Was the person in the spa, were they like doing coffees later on? Or
It was the captain.
did they smell of chips?
Well, the guy who did the chips was then the guy who was in charge of letting you down to your
Yes,
car.
that's
So
what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean. But I chickened out of going to do it, and then I had a tweet this morning of a guy who said someone stitched up at Shane Todd. He tagged me on Twitter last night by announcing his name on the Stena line. I was like, no, what a crazy prank. But I just couldn't go through with it. I just think if there had been like a fire or something, and people had seen me,
Yeah.
you know, all vulnerable in the bed with my head in the
face.
hole.
Yeah.
Not that kind. It just wouldn't have been a good look. But I don't think you should get a massage in the Stena line.
No, you shouldn't.
It doesn't fit as a thing.
Well, it does. Yeah, it's only 3 hours. That very like, and 2.5 hours of that, and half an hour of that, or an hour of that is queuing up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, like to get everybody down the car deck.
Yeah. Have you ever done a gig on the Stena line?
No,
I've heard about this.
Yes, I've heard about them. I know people who've done them.
Right.
And I know someone who went very badly. And
Because you can't go anywhere.
yeah, you can't. He said, I know, I didn't think this through. And I'm going, yeah. The worst thing is you went over and then you came back, so you didn't get off the boat. But they were doing it when there was a Celtic Rangers match on.
Oh shit.
Yes.
So where would they do that?
I have
In
no
one of the, I'm
idea.
sure in one of the restaurants, maybe they made a bit of an area.
Yeah, it must have been.
Oh my god, during a Celtic Ranger.
I know. Because Celtic fans go on, only know, like, son goes to college in Glasgow now, so I didn't know this, but Celtic, because I don't follow football, and Celtic supporters go out of, I think it's out of Belfast,
Right.
and Rangers supporters go out of Larne. They won't let them on. They're told to do that. It makes sense, doesn't
Imagine
it?
explaining that to an alien.
Yeah,
That's Scottish football.
yeah, Scottish football. Imagine explaining Larne to anyone. I'd make the Celtic fans travel out of Larne just for the crack.
Oh, I'm not a fan of. I don't know if you're of doing a gig on a bus or anywhere where there's.
I'm a huge fan of this gig. I'm more of a, those rickshaws. I do gigs in rickshaws.
Northern Ireland.
Cycling like that. There. Oh, the beer bike. That's the best place to do a gig. Has Paddy McDonald done that? He must have done that. He's done every gig.
Any form of transport.
He's done a gig on it.
Paddy's doing new material.
Glider.
He's doing new material on a penny farthing today. I think it needs to be in a place where there should be
a roof.
stand-up.
There should be a roof.
A roof's your first requirement.
That's your first thing.
Yeah. What's a gig outside the norm you've agreed to do and then regretted?
I did the Hillsborough Oyster Festival. I think, have you done that?
No.
Oh, and it's the World Oyster Eating Championships.
Yeah.
And it's in a tent in Hillsborough. So if I was entering an oyster eating competition, I would only enter it in a town that's near the sea.
Yes.
That would be my like a roof.
Yeah.
Somewhere that's near the sea, because these things have to be fresh.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry, the boy in the van will be here in a minute. And so they had all these rules. So they get a tray, which in my memory is about this size, and they had like oysters rounds. So they had about 24 oysters. This is the first round. So you have to drink 24 oysters or eat 24 oysters, and then drink a pint of Guinness quickly as you can. And then if you progress to the second round, then you have to eat the 24 oysters plus another 16 oysters, and then drink 2 pints of Guinness, and then it goes down. Anyway, I had to also commentate on this. So I stand in a room, and there's children in the room, and I'm swearing, and there's people being sick in buckets, and like these Belgians going, and it was I was the whole time I was doing it, I was thinking, I really shouldn't be doing this.
The Guinness element probably threw them off. That seems like something we would just add here as an element to that.
Yeah, I thought that too.
You're on the pints too, by the way. These athletes.
Yeah. Oh, that was one. I did one in Dublin. I did this corporate gig in Dublin, and I was a bit early, and they said, well, go into the bar there and order whatever you want, a cup of coffee or something. So I was having a cup of coffee, and the darts were on the big screen. I like watching a bit of darts. And so I was watching the darts, and next thing, this big fat lad walks in, stood in front of me, just stood right in front of me, and I go, I was trying to see round him, and he's got a darts shirt and all on. I'm thinking, yeah, you're a fan, but whatever. And a wee plastic bag and all, and he's sitting there. And then the next thing, he disappeared. He went out this door, and the next thing, he appeared on the screen. It was coming from next door. The European darts was on next door, and this was an athlete. And his sports bag was a wee plastic, Primark bag with his darts in it. Seriously, he was some Dutch dude. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
At a corporate, that would fuck with my head, because I'd be like, on stage, I go, I don't
the whole time, yeah.
That I don't know if that was real.
Yeah.
Corporates or any. I did a gig at St George's Market last week during the day. Business event.
Why? Oh, right. You weren't just there.
No.
People buying soup and stuff.
Buying a salmon and be like, hey, can I do 5? And the smell of fish never leaves. No matter what event they put on there, there's always the undercurrent of fish. I
was at the specials. I went to see the specials in there, and I thought it was a person beside me, but I didn't realise. All right.
But you said you're a big darts man? I wouldn't have pegged you down as a big...
I used to be when I was a kid. Yeah, I was mad into darts. And
as a child?
Mad into darts. It's a weird thing to do, isn't it? Yeah, I swear to God, as a child. Yeah.
And just watching, not playing?
Dartboard in the garage, right. And I never went pro. Right. Too young to drink. And my uncle had a dartboard, and he had the dartboard in their house was on a wall, but the door into the sitting room is here. Right. And so you'd open the door, and so the back of his door was covered in holes, right, where people had just burst in. And so I used to play darts in the garage and have wee sneaky fags.
The day after my cousins had a dartboard, and the day after my granddad died, on the other side of the family, not their side, I went down to their house, and I was just trying to think about. I was about 11 or 12, think about something else, and my cousin threw a dart and it went through my foot. About an hour after my granddad died, and it was just a sad day. Oh.
It took your mind off the death anyway, didn't it?
By the way, I don't want anyone to think I wasn't playing dart. That'd be disrespectful.
Yeah.
An hour. But yeah, that was one of the worst days I think I've ever had.
Oh no, there's lots of darts related stuff. There's a guy that lives, I don't know if he still does, in Newcastle in County Down, and he had a false leg, and he used to like when tourists were in the pub. He used to like throwing darts and then coming down and then sticking the darts in his leg and then having a pint, and saying nothing, and people go, oh. Yeah, I love playing darts.
What?
Brilliant. Bullseye. If anybody's got, you know all this retro stuff, people get a bit retro.
Yeah.
All the kids are getting retro about the 90s and
Yes.
80s again. I've seen
Everything
all.
comes back around.
It does. It all comes back around, and they think, oh, it might have been good then. And looking at the world today, you think, oh, it wasn't bad. Watch Bullseye. Just
Jimbo.
watch Bullseye. Oh
Jimbo.
my god! And I started watching it of an evening.
Right, it's on like one of those satellite channels now.
It is,
They rerun it.
yes. Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
they brought it back, but it doesn't. That didn't work.
No.
The
Has to
original.
be
You're saying the original.
Absolute original. And around the end of the 80s, that's when it's at its peak. Really?
Yeah.
You know, it's snow wash
Shit
denim
prizes.
and
Yeah.
you know, perms and
Now, were you ever on like when you were younger, right,
I was never
before
on
comedy?
Bullseye, no.
You know, ever on TV?
when I was when
When you were younger,
When I was a
when
kid?
you were a kid, when you were a teenager, a game show.
No, I was in the crowd a couple of times at things.
Darts mainly.
Mostly darts. Darts wasn't that rowdy when I was a kid. It wasn't the rowdy beer fest.
Well, they
it is
had to
now.
change it to keep it popular, to make it far more popular. And
Yeah.
they're trying to do the same with snooker.
Yeah. I loved snooker as well.
Right.
And see, these were very 80s things.
Yeah,
the snooker
yeah,
and the
yeah.
darts.
Yeah.
And you could smoke and drink when you were doing them.
I went to the
Brilliant.
darts in the Odyssey, and it was years ago, and it
Yeah.
was the wildest thing I've ever been at, because we were up in the stands, we were on the top level,
Yeah.
and like the worst seats, but you were just looking down at the madness. Nobody is watching the darts.
No.
You'd have hated it. Nobody is like, you'd have been the only person actively
Yeah.
like taking an interest in the darts. But you know the way at some countries you see pints being fucked around?
Yeah.
It was constant, and I'm like, it's not like you're getting carried away with the music. Like who's seeing that, and your fucking natural reaction is to throw a pint? It was a sea of pints.
I think it's the thing about here. We're just a natural reaction is to throw things.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah.
I saw.
So
a
it's
man,
not. It's not even a.
this is, I swear this is true. I did not make this up. I did not imagine it. You know the way on at Easter, right? Real old-fashioned thing. You know, you paint a wee boiled egg.
Yes.
And then roll it down the head with the kids. You know,
Yes.
you've got
For Jesus.
your 9 or 10 kids you've got now. You'd be able to do this. You know, the big dozen box of eggs, and away you go. And you can. Another dwarf. There's more anyway, and yeah. So you roll them down the hill, and then they're cracking, and all that crack.
Yeah.
So there was a man on Easter Sunday, and he was with the kids, and they were rolling the eggs down the hill. He was getting frustrated with this. Maybe it was taking too long. I don't know. Maybe he had the DTs. I have absolutely no idea. But he picked up that and started fucking the eggs like that, like throwing them. Maybe he only had them for the day,
Right.
and he was throwing them. And I thought, only in Belfast would someone throw an Easter egg to break it. Except for that. It was, yeah. I've never been, I have been, well, no, it was on TV. I was in the audience of a gig in Old Grey Whistle Test music programme that used to be on. And they did a gig from Queens, and I was in the audience.
What was your first TV thing you did? You performed in or acted in? Was divorce? I remember you
no.
were joking divorcing Jack.
Yes, it was. It was a big stretch. It's playing a comedian. And
Here, do you know what? This is so bad. They were making a movie here. I think Paddy Keelty was in it.
yeah.
It's about stand-up.
Oh, right.
Maybe a year ago they made it, and it's going to come out. And it's about a stand-up workshop.
Oh,
Right,
right.
that's what it's
Yeah,
based on.
yeah.
I got asked would I like to be in this, and I said yeah, I'd love to, and it was for the part of a comedian.
Yeah.
So I said yeah, I'd love to. I'd like to see you, read for it. And I said, could I send a clip? You know, because I'm method at this. Like I do stand up,
I
so
love this.
I won't be acting.
Yeah.
So I already have the audition. I've been auditioning for this for 15 years, so I could show you. They went, they'd like to see you read some of the stand up. So I said, oh great, I'll just do some. Well, we've written some. I said, all right, and it was a bit about observational bit about IKEA,
Yeah.
and about my dad getting words wrong. So I was like, oh, I can't do material about my dad anyway, and have stuff about him getting words wrong. Did the audition, down the camera, didn't get the part. They didn't believe me in the role.
As a comedian.
Yeah, and my mate got it, and he's never done stand up in his life. They watched me and went, nah, he's not authentic in this role. So hope that movie works out.
I did. I went to an audition for a movie in Dublin, and I think it was a Veronica Guerin movie, and I think I was. It was your man, the
Jazz musician?
Yeah, him. And I'm a jazz musician. I steal things. And I'm a bastard. Yeah, him. And so
Hold on, who?
I can't remember.
All right.
Too old. It doesn't matter. And I went for an audition to play a UVF man, which I thought, stretch. Okay. UVF. I have to think differently. And he says, no, together, out apart, together, apart. And there was an English casting agent, and then I was one of these ones where you don't read anything. So you just go in, I hate these, and you go in, because some auditions you don't read things, some auditions you go in and they say, the director just like to meet you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and so you go in and you just chat, and
okay.
one of these with some big director, some fancy director as well, and they go in, and you're sitting waiting for the script to appear at any minute, and then they go, well, that was great, lovely to meet you, and you're going, oh, I haven't done anything yet.
Right.
I haven't done my funny voices yet.
Yeah.
And this is me, I'm not going to speak like this. And that's it. And then you're thinking, all right. So your woman chat. And then at the end of it, she said, no, not really. I don't really get the terrorist vibe off you.
But but
I got really freaked out about it. I'm not freaked out. I got angry about this. And then, how the fuck do you know what a terrorist looks like? Like at that volume in a tiny room, just me and her. And she leaned back like this. I thought, this isn't going well. And that's
because that's a compliment to not get that. Because if you get that, that means they looked at you and went, he looks like he'd be in a paramilitary.
Yeah, exactly. Well, leaving the room and going, check under your car on the way home. Yeah. And then walking out, I thought it was a bit much.
What was the first thing you appeared on TV as a performer?
Was a thing on the news, like UTV, I think it was, live, whatever. And I'm finally about comedy being the new rock and roll. And it was about the Empire, and there was a gig up in Derry in the Delacroix, and so it was Paddy and myself and Jake, and that was that.
So it was like a feature piece on like
a feature piece, except they couldn't send someone up to film during the gig, so we had to fake a gig. No. So we had to go on and pull the curtains and put the lights on, and then we had to go on and do material, and they filmed us to an empty room. Well, not an empty room, it was like a bit of a crew and the staff of the just. It's
nearly worse, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And they're just staring at us. Yeah. And then they used these as wee cutaways during the thing, and yeah. And I remember I was all chuffed about this because I just got a comparing gig. Like I was maybe my second time ever, third time ever I'd done anything. So first time I did a gig, I got comparing 3 shows a week, and so I was telling Jake about this. And we were having a cup of tea after, sandwich and
it was a new rock and roll.
It was a new rock and roll. Cup of tea and a sandwich. Any sandwiches you want, boys. It's on the house, and we used to snort them. Snort sandwiches, just chop up
egg and watercress, all of it.
Watercress. Fuck's sake.
That was the first sandwich.
That was the first sandwich came into your head. Egg and watercress. I was going egg and onion. That's the first sandwich that comes into anybody's head. Not egg and watercress.
A psychiatrist.
That's Hollywood. You could take a guy.
Psychiatrist would have a dream.
Yeah, the boys in the wood, and then it's.
Why have I never made that film?
Yeah, the Boys in the Wood. It's just waiting to be. I was driving through there, looking at everything. Going, it is the Boys in the Wood.
Great egg and watercress, boy. I have a big consignment coming in next week.
Yeah, so we did that, and then I said to Jake, I've got the gig, because he used to compare it, and I said, I've taken over your gig. He's doing another set of gigs, and so I was doing these 3 gigs, and he goes, all right, how much is he paying you? And I said, 30 quid a gig. Oh, compare.
Yeah.
3 nights a week. And he just pissed himself laughing. He said, you just pay me 50.
I always heard like stories about, especially like, the Delacroix, the Empire, the sort of circuit of gigs that you had back then. I always wanted to. I hate when you heard about a good gig and then the gig's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Because I always just want to. I wonder what it would have been like to play that or go there and do that. But maybe every generation thinks, I wish I had done those gigs, and maybe you don't enjoy the gig. you don't
where
take
they
in
are.
how good the gigs
yeah.
are now. So
Yeah.
what do you think about? Because the stand-up scene kind of changes all the time. What do you make of it? Like at the minute.
I think it's there was nobody for years. There was nobody doing open spots. There was nobody appearing for years and years and years. We'd get people up from Dublin, and then there was a guy who knocked around for a wee while from West Belfast who used to show his hole.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was his.
He's still going, and his name's Paddy McDonald. Hold on.
God,
what do you mean?
I saw at least three open spots that he did, right?
Literally.
Quite literally, I think he misunderstood the word open. I think that was.
You're telling me there was a guy.
He didn't. This wasn't a set. He would go badly, right, and then he'd lose it, like properly lose it, and he'd go fucking what? You fucking laddies! And then he'd wake down his trousers and moon, and then walk off. I storm out of the building, and you
please bring him back. We need to get him
never
back.
see him again. And then so this happened once in Queens, and he just vanished. And then about 4 weeks later, I think I was in the Empire, and I walked in the dressing room. Your man's there, and I went, you know, and so I told, and they all laughed. And then he went badly again, and then the next thing I could see him reaching for the buckle. I was going, he's not going to do it again. And yeah, I tell you, he didn't take his cacks down that time. He just did his boxers, and then he stormed off. This was his. It wasn't like he was just. He gets so angry that he would do this. You don't get characters like that anymore.
Thank God. Thank God.
Yeah, it's it was that, and then
of course
there was nobody for ages. And then there was nobody for ages, and then people started to appear, and then that was.
And do you think a lot of the fact there are so many gigs now, so many people doing stand up, getting into it? Do you think that's all because of the internet? Because you see it so much more now, and you're more connected.
Yeah.
So I remember when I wanted to do stand up and want to do that first gig, how on earth do you do it? You can't DM someone directly. Yeah, well, that's what a DM is.
Yeah. You said that to me for like I'm old and I won't know what a DM is.
I realised when I said it.
A boot? Why would you send them a DM? What do you think? You write their message on the bottom of a boot and then fuck it through their window? I've got a DM here. It's an 8-hole oxblood.
So I just remember not knowing how to go about that, and then I found out about a gig that was happening. Paul Curry that was running it in Black Box.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, look, and I had to I'm emailing this person to try and get a contact. Eventually, I get an email address, send the email. Now you go on Instagram. Hey, could I do 5 minutes?
The first time I played Kilkenny Comedy Festival was it was the first year of it, right? And I found out about it through Hot Press magazine, music magazine. There was an ad in there or a feature about that was going to happen, and I thought, I want to play in that, and so I didn't know how to go about it. The logical thing would have been to ring the people run it, but not me. I had to find out a venue, so I had to get a venue. So I went to the Central Library, and I've got the golden pages, you know, the way they have all the... And I got the golden pages for Kilkenny, and I opened it up and found pubs in Kilkenny, and then I had to get a map to find out where things were in Kilkenny.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly. And then found this, and then had to wait till the sun was over a certain thing, then a shadow cast over the venue on the map that I was going to, I'm destined to play that one. And then I wrote a note and attached it to a pigeon and whispered the address to the pigeon and sent it off. And then that didn't work, so I rang them. And then I rang this dude in a pub in Kilkenny and explained to him what I wanted to do. And he said, yeah, come on down, we'll get you a place to stay and all. So it was that difficult.
And that's like, you know, because nowadays, I'll send you this clip and that, but that was literally like,
no.
I'm a stand-up.
Yeah,
okay,
I just
come
said,
on.
it's me and a mate, we're going to come down. And
maybe a bit of nudity from a mate at the start. Don't be freaked out by that.
As long as it goes well, we're grand. And we called it Dirty Northern Bastards. And we did genuine, that was what it was called. The show was called Dirty Northern Bastards. And we did this, and the guy paid us and everything. It was great.
That I got to do that.
But it was so much effort. It was just so much effort.
Yeah.
And I used to have to ring every single venue in London to get gigs before I had an agent. Just ring everybody and constantly ringing them and looking for open spots. And I found an old diary and I had all the jobs I had to do that week.
Right.
To ring and a list of numbers. And
they don't know how good they have it nowadays.
I don't know.
Honestly, they don't. They don't like the it wasn't when I started, it was easier than that, but it was still different. You were phoning people. You were. Oh, it's almost now like a lot of people don't even have to ask for gigs, and that's so good for them, because there's so many you get approached before you approach places.
But what's good for an audience is that they can go and watch people from here, and they can hear their own voice on the stage.
Yeah,
and that never happened.
Well,
so that's what I'm saying. Like in Empire, we just have to listen to these endless people moaning about the Tory government, and we're going, well, I can't vote for that fucking bastards.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter to us. We don't care.
Yeah,
and it was, and that's why we like listening to American comics, because they had to change everything that they did, because
so they were more relatable than the people from England,
and it felt like they're proper comedians because they're from America.
They're
like American comedians.
Well, even now I relate more and appreciate probably watching American comedians a lot more than British
sometimes I do
comedians.
as well. Yeah.
And I think it is. You're right. It's cooler. It's like they're all the way over there.
I watched last night. I've never seen him do stand up before, but I was flicking around Netflix, and it was Ray Romano.
Yeah.
But the latest one that he did in the 2 clubs, so he did the Comedy Cellar
in the Cellar
in New York. Yeah. So I was in the Comedy Cellar. We were over for my wife's birthday. I brought her over for her 40th birthday. We went, and she said no comedy. That's what she told me. We're not going near any comedy. Oh no, I'm not. We're not. And then we were sort of edging down in Soho, and I was like, well, where we go? We'll go in here. And I genuinely didn't know it was a Comedy Cellar. And we were upstairs in the sort of bar area, and we were in there, and we had a couple of drinks and a few nibbles and stuff. And I went to the Jacks, so I went downstairs, and I was walking past the sort of room, and I looked in and went, there's a comedy room. All these comedy pictures, like, this is a comedy club. And I looked in, and as Dave Chappelle was introduced on stage, this was 15 years ago, and so I stood and watched Dave Chappelle for 20 minutes. Meanwhile, my wife's upstairs going, hey. And I came up full of, Dave Chappelle's downstairs, Dave Chappelle. Who? Do you know him? No. Well, why? What the fuck? So, so I watched that, and it was brilliant. So you come from there, and then he did the first half of the gig in that room, and then he went around the corner, and they owned another room next door, and then they filmed the bit where he's walking, and it was brilliant seeing him walk out. When you see a comedian with a piece of paper, and he walked out with a scrappy, like I have envelopes and a set list on the envelope, and he took it out, he put his glasses on, and he was ticking what worked and what didn't work, and what he'd forgotten to do, and putting question marks beside things. And
I love seeing that as an audience member at live gigs. I love people's new stuff.
Oh, right.
Love it.
The bit of paper coming out.
I don't mind a bit of paper coming out, but I think people, and I've probably done it, you fall into a trap of when a joke doesn't work, you give it a bit, that didn't work, and then that becomes funnier than the material. But I do like.
It's a good way of getting out of a thing if a joke doesn't work.
Yeah. I do like.
Won't do that again.
I do like the raw material, new material, and then I like seeing it again. I like seeing someone do a new joke, and then the next time I see it, seeing what's different.
Yeah. As long as you don't take out the bit of paper and then
try
out some new material.
Oops.
Oh, it's not new material. But I like doing that as well, and it does make it's a wee bit sort of behind the curtain thing that the audience, they forgive you a wee bit.
Yeah, of course.
And when you're upfront about it and you go, look, I have never done this before, and they feel a wee bit privileged about it, and it's nice.
Yeah.
They don't realise that everything you've done up until that point you've made up as well. and they're going, it better be better than that other shit you did. Yeah. And I did it last week, actually, or 2 weeks ago in Dublin, exactly that. Pulled out a piece of paper and read out the things. Well, not read them out, but their prompts are there.
I always had a bit of paper at my feet with my set on it, just a couple of key words. Always had it down at my feet, just in case.
How did you start to rely on that?
Exactly, and I think because I started stand-up so young, I was so nervous and scared that I needed that, and I only really let go of that maybe a year ago, and it's the best thing it's ever. And so much looser, so much more relaxed.
It comes full circle then, you see, because you start off when you're young and when you should be remembering things.
Yeah.
Now I'm getting to my age and I'm going, I want that piece of paper back again. And
right.
I forget, there used to be a comic down in Dublin, and he used to put it on the mic stand there. He used to have tiny, cigarette paper.
It was the best eyesight of...
Exactly, it was unbelievable. Look, how are you seeing that? And it would be written one letter on top of the other, you know.
Okay.
And he'd put sellotape it onto the mic stand. I go, just put it in your hand.
Yeah.
Anything.
I saw, talking about stand-up, nowadays, a new scene of comedy. I've definitely noticed doing festivals this year, especially doing the comedy festival in Dublin. There are so many, I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, internet comedians of people who start on the internet and now are doing live shows and doing stand-up. And it's so bizarre seeing these people with huge followings.
But they didn't do stand-up on the internet. They did different things. They did little
sketches. And now they're, of course, promoters are you have this following.
Exactly, that's an
do a live
audience,
show.
ready-made audience.
But it's so bizarre seeing these people with the big followings at the top of the bill being so nervous because they've just started. And I saw an act with a whole set list, word for word, on a monitor. And don't get me wrong, they weren't like the whole, but it was just to keep them right. And I remember thinking that would be so much pressure.
Yeah.
If you have this big following of people that are coming to see you.
Yeah.
Because when you're starting, the best thing is no one knows you. And you have a good set. People are like, the fuck's this guy?
Yeah.
But it's a weird shift now of people who have the following before the stand up. And some are great, but obviously some get eaten up by it. And the nerves backstage. It was electric picnic.
I like backstage. Backstage is my favourite place.
Backstage is better than
it is
on stage.
A million times better.
Always.
It's a million times better. Even before the gig, it's a million times better.
Yeah. What's your say when you're on tour, when you're doing solo shows, what's your backstage environment? You hate it?
Yeah. Hate it then.
Right.
Don't like doing, when you're on your own, it's just dull.
You listen to music?
No.
You just sit?
Yep.
Egg and onion sandwich.
Egg and onion sandwiches. The place is stinking. It's on the rider. Egg and onion sandwiches. And no, I get nervous and read my set list and and I do these weird set lists. I didn't know they were a thing. They're mind maps, and I didn't know they were called that until someone told me. So there is a structure to it, but I don't want to admit there's a structure to it.
Right. Yeah.
So I
write.
Something there, something here, then there's a circle around that, then there's an arrow that goes to this, and then in between there's another arrow that goes off to it. So these are the tangents that belong to that. So in my mind, I can switch the whole thing around, but I don't.
Right, okay.
But it's there, so I can go from that to that, or that to that, or that to that, and I just stare at this.
See, I don't have the IQ for that. I need to have it you'll be doing this, then you'll be doing this, then you'll be doing this.
Do you do these visualizations? Do you do those for memory things? These are actually really good for, hey kids, if you're doing exams, these are really good. Visualization techniques that I was taught them when I was to learn lines. And so you think of bizarre connections. So if you have a bit of material about doing stand-up on a bus, and then the next bit of material is about buying a car in England, then you have to find some bizarre connection, visual connection that you're.
So you're not saying that
no,
it's just for you
There's
to go.
A visual clue in there somewhere. So doing stand-up on a bus. That's full of, you're buying the thing in London, so it's full of pearly kings and queens.
Right.
No, I shouldn't say queen. And it's too soon. And so
it's fine, he died in the 90s, it's all good.
Pearly kings and queens. and eating fucking bacon sandwiches or something. And then that's the thing that triggers the next thing. So it's London, so you go, London, and then car. London.
Right.
So you use these weird.
That would take me, on stage, that would be 7 minutes of me going, what was this thing? And then that, and then
you go, massive elephants having a wank.
Yes.
Sorry, that material.
Just giving away the name of my new show. It's the amount of gigs, the amount of stand up. That's not. It feels like a good thing, but that can be a bad thing too.
That's what happened in America. Everything went because it was everywhere.
Yeah.
And everybody can't be good.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden there's people on a bill who really shouldn't be on the bill, and then they're asking money for people to go and see that person or that show, and then people don't want to go to comedy anymore, and it gets a bit generic and everyone gets the same, and then it just died in the States, just totally died. And then they didn't raise the money as well in the States. People still get paid the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It's atrocious the money in the
Well, that's
States.
crazy. Like you're talking about the Comedy Cellar or places like that. The fees for that, you're talking like pittance.
Yeah.
But that's their. They do 5 spots a night. Even then, they're not.
It's $50
that's not their
or something,
money.
you know.
That's how they hone their material.
Yep.
Then they go on the road at the weekend
Yeah.
and make their money. But punters who don't do stand-up, probably in these Comedy Cellars, places like that, looking at the comedians on stage, he's probably getting 1,000 for this tonight.
Yeah. You're standing there and like Dave Chappelle's a guest or Jerry Seinfeld walks in to do 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And they all think, you're getting the same as Jerry Seinfeld. We're all getting $50 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it's the same in London. It's like the money hasn't gone up in years. So
But that creates probably a good scene, because it's like, well, people that are motivated by money or anything, or have too big of an ego, they're not going to do those gigs.
Yeah.
So you're going to see the people that want their material to be the best it can be.
That's true. Yeah, but you have to make a living.
Yeah.
You know, you have to pay the bills. That's the thing. You know.
What was the first gig outside of here that you did?
In Cork, I got invited down to a place called City Limits in Cork.
Mm-hmm.
I've done it.
Yeah.
And with Sean Locke.
Okay,
and
great.
that was my first, and so I'd known Sean from here because he played the Empire loads of times. And so I went down and he was on. I didn't know he was on. Then we were right in. And it was great. A lovely weekend. And it was like, that was one of the best rooms anywhere.
Yeah.
Like in Ireland. It was absolutely amazing.
Did you have it in your head of how's my stuff going to travel? But maybe, like you say though, you weren't focusing on the political stuff.
Yeah.
So because it's outside of that, maybe slightly surreal or bizarre topics, if you wanted it to be, that maybe made it easier.
It did make it easier. Yeah. But then I realised that you can't avoid. You have to address where you're from, because you have this noise that comes out of the front of your head. Yeah. People are going, what's he saying? I don't know what he's saying. Has he had a stroke? What's wrong with him? So they spend the first 10 minutes going, no, he's Scottish, isn't he? He's from Scotland. No, he's not. He's Welsh, no. He's Finnish. And so you have to explain it. I had an argument with a guy on stage in the Comedy Store in Manchester that he insisted that I was Scottish. And I said, do you think of the two I would choose this one? Do you know what I mean? I'd rather admit the other one. It's the sexier one. And he was going, oh, you're fucking Scottish, mate. What you pretend to be Northern Irish for? Fuck off.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no, you're right.
Who
no one's trying.
No one. No one adopts this voice. You know, no one's going, oh, hey, I know what's going to get this woman moist. And it's just, hey, love. How's it going?
I would love it.
You're a fine looking woman. It's not something.
I would love it if someone high profile from here got exposed as to the whole thing being Eamon Holmes. I would love it if the Sunday Life were like, he's a fraud. He's not from here.
He's a Scouser.
He's a
yeah.
It's all been a lie.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to GB News. What's going on with him? Fucking hell. Huh? Anyway, seriously, GB News, like.
Have you heard? Yeah. There's a stand-up show on GB News, isn't there? Not a stand-up show. There's a show where stand-ups get invited on.
There is, yeah. I actually know some people who do it regularly, and I know another person who's a regular on.
But do you think?
And it was one of those ones when it happened. I went, really?
But do you think you can go on something like that and present a different point of view, or do you think you just?
Who's watching that?
Yeah.
You're walking on. They're not listening to you. They're at home going, oh, look at that! Oh, that bloody liberal bastard! Look at him!
Yeah.
Oh, well, he's got them and he's living next door to him.
Yeah.
You know, it's no.
Yeah. So after court, like, you performed all over the world.
Yes.
You've done the festival. Have you done Montreal?
To Montreal twice, I think. I've done Montreal twice.
I would love that. Is that great? Oh. Can you lie?
Fabulous. You doing it?
Yes. I would like to know.
It doesn't feel like a festival. It doesn't feel like Edinburgh or any other festival. It's too spread out, and it is a bit big time. It is a wee bit sort of. There are guys rolling in there that look like things off the movies. Like he's commissioning guys, agents and things, LA dudes with cigars, like every cliche in the book, you know, really mouthy, really, hey kid, come here, you know, this sort of, and everybody stays in the one hotel. All the comedians stay in the one hotel. So in the bar after the gigs, everybody has to wear. You know the way you get lanyards at festivals now, just to get backstage and that sort of thing. There you have to wear them. No comedian wears them.
Because everyone does that thing. If, like, I know you're not into football, but if you come like runner-up in the Champions League and you got to get the medal, they go, okay, thank you, and then just straight away.
Yeah, it's exactly the same. That's what every comedian does at every festival. And you arrive in.
I do it, and it's a very childlike thing to do.
Yeah, anyway, and they put it on you, and you go, yep, thank you very much. You put that in there. You know, there is a thing.
Yeah,
but not there.
Yeah,
I was in the bar, and the hotel's called the Delta Hotel, and I was standing there, I was rammed.
When roughly when are we chatting?
And I think 2002 maybe. I
Okay.
think it was. And yeah, son. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I brought back a T-shirt. Yes, 2002, and 2001 there. Yeah, 2002, and at the bar, absolutely bunged full of people, and I'm waiting to get served, and this guy sort of leaning on the bar beside me, and I went, "What?" And he just reached over and picked up my lanyard, and looked at the thing, and then he just dropped it, and he went back to looking around, like he was in H&M looking at a pair of shoes. I'm doing that again. What? That's too much.
So you wanted to speak to like
Yeah, you're of no use to me.
yeah.
So he might have been a comedian who said, "No, I need to speak to an agent."
Yeah. I
And-
think
But they would, and they would. It is one of those, you know, you hear about people talking over your shoulder constantly. People you're talking, and they're constantly going, "Yeah, I know, yeah, it's really great. I got it."
Yeah.
And they just walk away.
And that's why I think we're so opposite to that I find that, especially if there's comics from here or north of England, if you,
Yeah.
we all gravitate together
Yeah.
at a kind of like, you
Yeah.
see what's going on here kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre way that they're
all
looking
of
over
the
the
English
shoulder.
acts, all of the Irish acts just went over in a corner and went, "Those people are nuts,"
Yeah, I find
and it was horrific.
doing gigs away, you almost spend more time with like the tech crew
Yeah,
or people that work at the venue,
yeah.
as opposed to trying to like schmooze and that kind of.
Never snooze. Jesus, what are you going to get?
What about, like, we were at something recently together,
Yes.
networking. if
Yeah, but I met you on the way in.
Yeah.
And you said if you go up the front stairs, then they'll give you a name badge. So I went, right. So I went up the back stairs. Right.
but again, that's like a lanyard thing.
Yeah.
Because I know straight away. I'm like,
But
you
then I
you
got
won't
slagged
want one
off.
either.
I walked in and everybody went, "Oh, suppose you don't. Everybody knows you. You don't need a name badge." I'm like,
I did that
"Nah."
too. You're like, no, I'm
Couldn't
not.
win.
I'm not 7, so I
Yeah.
don't want to have.
Yeah.
And ask me my name, and I'm going to
Yeah.
tell you my name. But like, you can seeing somebody work a room is the most uncomfortable
horrible.
thing.
It's horrible.
You know, like waiting. You know, like
I've known people and seen people that work the room,
yeah.
and I think they would work the room no matter what job they're in, though.
Yeah.
So the type, you know, if they were working in sales or something, they'd be working the room. They'd be constantly schmoozing people.
Yeah.
The type of people that when they go out on the shift after women, they're working the room.
Yeah,
You know, they're
yeah,
just
yeah.
working the room.
Yeah.
Constantly, and it doesn't. Like in Montreal, I was doing a gig, and they're all called something com, so the World Com it was
Right.
called, right? So it's just comedians from all over the world, as opposed to somewhere else.
Imagine if it wasn't.
I know. Who else are they going to wait? Where else? I'm not from the world. I'm not from this world. I will show you my ass. And I am from the moon.
He's the top act. This guy's doing something different.
And every single one of them went on and gave their CV. That was their opening.
And it goes on and on and on.
And you go, and the next one does it. And I thought, did he not see the first guy do that? 'Cause
Yeah.
that's really shit.
Yeah.
And and then the audience, because the Canadians are so polite, and they applaud.
You could spoof about that as well. So
Absolutely.
much. Who's fact checking that?
This
Conan,
guy
The Tonight Show.
This guy was on, and he had a drink and a little straw, and he walked out, huge, big Italian-American guy. He walked on, he was high, I just finished the latest season of The Sopranos. And then, while he's taking a round of applause, thank you very much. And then recently, I've got a movie coming out with Al Pacino. Yeah,
It was Eamon
round
Holmes.
of applause. And,
Trying a new character.
it was just fucking endless.
Yeah.
This crap.
Yeah.
And I was just really uncomfortable with the whole thing.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Absolutely terrible.
But
That whole thing was terrible. But yes, the gigs were good in Montreal.
yeah.
They were really good.
Yeah. And like, what names that year would have been doing the festival?
Oh,
The biggest names in comedy.
genuinely don't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But if you looked at a bill, you go, Jesus Christ.
Yes, well, yeah. And then there were the big rooms. There was the big galas, they're called, in the Saint Denis Theatre. So it's 2,500 people, but it's for TV. So they film them for telly, and so all the lights are on
Oh, okay.
in the audience.
Ah, right.
Like really bright. You know,
Yeah.
here it's sort of when you're filming things, the lights are on full.
Right.
Big lights are on. These lights.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can see everybody. And it's really unnatural.
that.
Yeah. And so there was an Irish one. So the year I was there, they decided to do an Irish gala.
Right.
And there's a whole bit outside like not even in the theatre, outside the theatre, for the TV execs and the press and they have a tent set up with fridges full of beer and a big screen and audio, and that's where they sit
Right.
and decide who they like and who they don't like. And no one turned up. No industry people turned up.
So if you went there with the sole purpose of landing a sitcom or whatever, you'd look out and go, "No, I know that's not happening."
Yeah, well, you wouldn't know because they're outside.
Oh, okay.
And because and no one turned up because they're all American casting people.
Yeah,
They're going,
yeah, yeah.
well, I don't need an Irish guy. I definitely don't need a Scottish guy.
This Murphy guy.
Who's a Scottish guy and an Irish bill? What the? And yeah, finish. I don't know what the fuck he is.
That like doing shows.
I made that mistake before with Holmes.
doing
Holmes
shows.
under the hammer. That's what he should be doing.
Yeah.
Genuinely, he's got the name. It should be
Yeah.
HOLME.
Yeah.
It's
he'll-
made for him.
As we've established, he'll do it.
He will.
If it's going, he'll do it.
It's his demographic. It's the afternoon,
Yeah.
big slipper brigade. That's his, the face of lumbago.
What's that?
I don't know, but I like the word lumbago.
Lumbago's good.
It's an old person thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Lumbago.
The face of cystitis. Are you the face of cystitis? Yes, I am the face of cystitis.
Oh, Holmesy. Would you had you ever aspirations to leave here, like permanently, relocate, live anywhere else?
I did when I was a student. I lived in Bristol for a year, and then came back here. And
I mean, when you started to
when I was doing stand up, I did toy with the idea of going to London, and but just never got around. It was just too expensive. And
I was always the guy who was like, next year
yeah,
I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm going
Yeah,
next year.
yeah.
And I feel like everyone that I was friends with at the time, we
Yeah.
were plotting where we were going to live and what we were going to do. And I'm so glad that I didn't. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else.
Well, I had more crack, I think, than here.
Yeah.
I had sort of a group of people that I knew and doing other things as well, and I just enjoyed myself and had a nice life. And yeah, so then I didn't want to go, and now I really do.
Anywhere.
Yeah, just anywhere. Yeah, I'd just love to.
Because it's the thing that a lot of people ask, especially people not in stand up, when they know you do stand up and they see gigs you're doing. It's I suppose you're gonna go here, London, you're gonna go there, but nothing would ever make.
Really?
I love to spend time, love travel,
Yeah.
and go somewhere. And I would, if you were like, oh, do you want to do this thing for a month over here? Yeah, but
Yeah.
nothing would ever make me leave here.
Ever.
No.
Parallel
live?
trees, nobody. Just
Yeah.
boys turn up to your house in Balaclava going, get out. No.
Imagine being put out just for your stand up.
Yeah.
Just because they didn't like your stand up.
Put off for that once, but anyway. Get off the stage now.
Let me ask you this final question.
What?
Have you ever had like any threats because of your act or something you've said on stage, or you ever been told like this person didn't like that? Especially in the 90s when you were.
I have lots of people that said I didn't like that. Just loads of them. They're all over the internet.
But I mean like the wrong kind of person. You ever had a close shave?
No, a couple.
Okay.
But
Okay.
there were other people in the room who were scarier who stood up for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the weird one.
Yeah.
And
Because that's good at that, but that's also something you're conscious of you don't want.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
a super fan who's like a top
Yeah.
guy.
You don't want to. You owe me. Oh fuck! It's just doing a wee gig.
I remember a friend of mine who does stand up who you would know being in Foot Locker beside City Hall and seeing a very prominent early noughties loyalist paramilitary guy, and being on the phone to him at the same time. And then he clocked the guy and he goes, oh fuck, that's insert name of guy, and he goes, fuck, I need to leave. I said, why? He's like, what if he's a big fan of mine and tells me I'm coming to do a gig for him and his mates, and then I end up just being their like guy who makes him
a
laugh,
comedy guy.
So he had to get out of there.
Yeah,
that's a big fear of mine.
Well, we've had people come up to us and say, we love your show. We used to watch it in Maghaberry. Loads of that.
Okay.
Because the TV's behind a plexiglass.
Right.
So the staff have control over what's on.
Okay.
This used to happen in Dublin and Mountjoy as well. We used to get loads of people
With
in
the
Dublin.
panel?
Yeah.
Right.
So loads of ex-prisoners, big fans of the show.
Right.
And these guys were walking along, oh yeah.
I do anything for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And used to watch it every week. Brilliant. With no fucking choice. And loads of those sort of guys.
Yeah, the danger is they go when the panel stopped. They're like, "You're going to keep doing it
Yeah, aren't you?
for us."
Yeah.
Yeah. Like not on TV, just in the house.
Because that's for me.
You've got to show up
Yeah.
with your bits round it.
Exactly.
We'll build you a set.
No, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
Do it again. It feels a bit like this. It
Um,
feels very much like this. In fact, I was thinking about this the other day. I was out walking, and because if you're a comedian or if you work at night,
yes.
you're around during the day, and you meet a different demographic during the day than you meet if you're a working person of the day who goes out in the evening.
Yeah.
And so the people we tend to meet of an afternoon tend to be older.
Yeah.
Tend to be possibly infirm. They're a different type of people.
Yes.
Right? So like, if I'm out with my missus and she meets people that she knows casually that she would bump into, she's bumped into them at the weekend or the evening in Marks and Spencer's or in a park out running, something like that. So they're nice people. They're nice sort of retired teachers and
Fleece.
yeah, nice people. And then she's out with me, maybe she's off work. And then we meet some of the people that I encounter on a regular daily basis. And there's a fella with a mad Alsatian and like a Chihuahua, and he's walking two of them at the same time.
And the Chihuahua is scaring the Alsatian.
Yes, it's got a muzzle on.
Yeah.
And and he's standing there with a big Game and Homes t-shirt going, hey, when are you back at the TV?
And it is him.
Yes. When are you back at the TV? When are you back at the TV? How do you know him? I see him every day. He's grand. What's his name? No idea.
Are you on tour at the minute?
Not the minute. No, I'm going out and about I'm playing lots of wee places. I'm playing lots of like comedy club gigs. So like the Braid Comedy Club rather than the big room and all that. And
Yep.
Moy and small places trying out material. And then
That's the best time to see someone. If you're a fan of someone, I think that's the best time to see someone.
Yeah.
Love going to see the polished thing, but also love that.
Yeah,
Love going to see the set as it's
so
being
it'll
worked on.
be set list stuff, but then it'll be other new stuff. So I have to try it out somewhere. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm out in
Tiny strip of paper.
Tiny strip of paper. No, this will be actual bits of paper. And
Auto-cue.
several bits of paper. And then I don't know. And when I do that, I mean it this time. And then starts in February in Larne. That's where it starts.
What are you doing, Lauren?
The McNeil Theatre.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a really nice wee place.
Yeah.
You can smell chlorine in it.
Right.
Because the pool is next door.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
It's, the pool is next door, so you can't smell chlorine. But if you fancy a swim and a gig, perfect venue.
Or if you're a Celtic fan waiting on a boat. Or sorry, Rangers fan waiting on a boat. Sorry, God.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And it starts there, and then I'm not doing any gigs in Belfast though until the autumn, just because I can't get dates. It's too busy because you're doing them all.
Yeah.
And so between you and Paddy and Colin,
Yeah.
there's no venues. So it'll be the autumn then to do the end of the tour. But I've got proper names. I decided to name tours. You see, this is good. I like
You name it before you write the show.
Yeah,
I've started to do that.
yeah, because nobody knows the
What's your new show called? Can you say? It says world exclusive. I'll tell you what mine's called.
Okay, what's yours called?
Mummy.
Mommy. Like spelled U or with an O?
MU.
Oh, that's it. Okay, that's
It's TBC.
yeah.
You change it?
Yeah.
It's not called that.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
It's but I don't know whether I want to go and see it.
Okay.
What's the image? On the poster. This will be the selling point now.
Kind of like me, quite frail. Not frail. Quite holding myself. It's just because when I was at Saw Play with my son, another boy was talking to his dad about me.
Yeah.
I might have said something to him, and he said,
What do you mean? You might have said something to the other kid?
"Yeah."
Okay.
He tried to bunk in front of my son
okay.
to get on it, and he said that boy's mummy
Yeah.
when he was talking about me to his dad.
Ah.
And then I sort of turned into more of a mummy when he said that. Everything felt like softer,
Right.
body wise, the way I was holding it, and I realised actually maybe that is more me.
You're not going to fit all that in the poster.
No.
Mommy.
Yeah.
Mine's called Whatchamacallin.
Okay.
Yeah, it's because I can never remember anything. So it's just and nobody ever remembers my name.
Plus, it
So
doesn't tell you exactly what the show's
No.
about, so it's perfect.
It's completely.
Actually, I'm going to call mine "Oh Mummy." Is that better?
Oh, Mummy.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a bit better.
Okay. I'll call it that.
Could be dirty though.
Maybe it is.
Oh, Mummy.
Oh, Mummy. Yeah. Oh Mummy. It depends what way you say.
Is it exclamation mark?
It is now. You think it should be? Also, can I have that jacket for the show?
No.
Okay.
Oh, mummy.
Do you have dates on your website or anything
Your
like
poster
that?
could be you in the sarcophagus in the Ulster Museum.
Yes. And then it's all about ancient Egyptian history.
Nothing to do with it.
Right.
So you get people turning up expecting the ancient
Nuts
Egyptian.
for it showing up. That's like genuinely, I promise, I'm not making this up. I have a picture that I took at the thing of the guy doing the thing. Me and my mate went and see Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds in the SSE.
Yep.
Guy showed up beside us, sat down, guy by himself, fleece, hat, brought out binoculars, looking at the stage, went like this. Fuck. Left raging. He thought it was some sort of spectacular live bird show. Never came back to his seat. And I have a photo of the guy who's clearly not with us with the binoculars. I was like, this will be one that people think I'm making up. But this guy
The
left.
observer's book of birds in his pocket.
He didn't even stay and go, this might be a nice time. He fucking livid.
Indoor birds. He thought this is.
He thought it was
an
Noel
aviary.
Gallagher releasing. And I don't know whether he already knew Noel Gallagher. Or he thought it was just, this is just the guy
Well,
that does
you know,
it.
Bill Bailey's into birds. He thought, well, why wouldn't Noel Gallagher be into
Yeah,
birds?
yeah.
High flying birds.
It's
It's a big venue. He must have thought, well, they're going to fly quite high.
I
I'd have been
think
suspicious if it had been low
flying birds.
flying birds.
I think of a new name for my show. Colin, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Boys in the Wood.
Boys in the Wood. I'm going to make that. Would you come back on? Because I talked about 10% of what I wanted to
absolutely.
talk
Yeah,
about
yeah.
with you. But I appreciate you coming on. Thank you very much.
enjoyed this.
Braid, all that. We'll put links to things in the description of this
Oh,
episode.
I have a website. I have to fucking update it. I've not updated it in ages.
Update it.
That's colinmurphy.com. And it'll all be on there. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having tea with me.
No, it's brilliant. I enjoyed it.
Cheers.
Yeah, even though I don't believe that's tea.
It's not. And I went there. I normally like raise my cup at the end, then I realised that that doesn't have a handle and it's not tea.
I'm going to raise my cup.
Exposed, but Eamon Holmes will be a bigger headline after this episode.